Because what this says to us is that on a Friday, you could have been anywhere else. But on this day, you chose to come out and be with us to recognize an elder, an ancestor to us, Malcolm X, El-Haj Malik Shabazz. And what that says is that we're not going to rely on someone to recognize El-Haj Malik Shabazz, Malcolm X for us. We're going to recognize him for ourselves. And we're going to move in the spirit of Kucha Chakali on that. With that, what I would like to do is just say just a few things about Malcolm X and why we want to recognize him. To us, when we look at Malcolm X, one of the things that come to mind is a brother who stood for cultural change. If you look at where he was in his life, and with that I also give recognition to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad because he put his feet on that path. And so I don't want to take anything away from him because without his teaching, I'm sure we all have teachers in our lives. We need to recognize that teacher regardless of what we may think of them at another point, but they were there to put us and guide us along our way. One of the things that stands out about Malcolm is that his commitment to the culture. And he recognized by understanding our culture, it can serve as a revolutionary tool. And that same concept has been used throughout the entire world. And if you remember, I don't know if any of you remember Biko, the movie Biko, but one of the things that he mentioned in that movie is he indicated that we will move in the spirit of Malcolm X. We will use our culture to transform our people in the conditions in South Africa. And to me, that was just, it's phenomenal. So one of the things that brings to mind when we think about Malcolm X is his cultural impact on us as a people. With that, I would like to turn it over to Elder Baba Kamiban, who will do the libation.
Permission to speak from the elders. I recognize one esteemed elder, Sante Sana. Also the Queen Mother, Nana Akur-Sapang, also known as President Zuri Campbell, Malcolm X College. My name is Elder Kamban Johnson. I'm a member of the Council of Elders, the Balozi Wazi. And I will pour the libation to honor our Creator and our ancestors. And I will pour libation, and I will use Kiswahili and the English equivalent. And at some point when I pour libation, you can say Ashe, Amen, or whatever is your spiritual persuasion. Sifa Ote Na Maumba Weusi, all praises are due to our African Creator. Sifa Ote Na Mbaba Weusi, all praises are due to our African ancestors. Sifa Ote Na Wote Weusi, all praises are due to African people. Sifa Ote Na Maisha Weusi, all praises are due to African life. We say and pour libation to the Africans of antiquity who created the great civilizations of Africa and throughout the world, throughout the diaspora. We say and pour libation. We say and pour libation for those Africans who resisted slavery 1,000 years before European slavery on the eastern coast of Africa during the Arab invasion. We say and pour libation. We say and pour libation for all of those Africans who resisted slavery before being taken and made captive in the slave castles on the western coast of Africa by the Europeans. We say and pour libation. We say and pour libation to the 50 to 100 million Africans who perished during the Middle Passage. We say and pour libation. say in for libation for El-Haj Malik El-Shabazz, who this institution is named for. We say in for libation. We say in for libation for Mother Betty Shabazz, the wife of Malcolm. We say in for libation. We say for libation for his mother and father and for his mentor, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We say for libation. We say for libation for our mothers and fathers, sisters and brothers, and all of the ancestors, many of whom we did not know, who are responsible for us being here today and whose shoulders we stand. We say and pour libation. At this point, when I pour the glass in your direction, please name an ancestor that you wish to remember. We say for libation for all of those who have perished in the wars of genocide, those who are on both sides, those who perished because they lacked knowledge and were the enemy. We say in for libation for all of the brothers and sisters in Darfur and throughout the world who were victims of genocide. We say in for libation. We say in for libation for all of our brothers and sisters who die as a result of genocide in the great cities of the Americas as a result of gang warfare and drugs, and also for those who perished because of HIV and other diseases. We say for libation. We say for libation for the brothers and sisters who are yet unborn. We say and for libation. Almond is satisfied. Hotel. Sante San.
Good evening, everyone. Well, before I begin, all I'm doing is introducing, but may I have permission from my elders to speak? I'd like to introduce and present to everyone here someone very special, the president of this institution, who we also know as Nana Kuasarpong, President Campbell, who will give some greetings. Are you giving the greetings, President? I'm sorry, President Campbell. And then we also have some presentations by some students from the college. So, Nana Kua.
Thank you, Santi Sana. Good evening, welcome. Hey there. Didn't have an opportunity to make my wardrobe change, but it's not a matter of what I'm wearing, it's what's in my head. And I want to thank you guys for being here tonight. And I want to thank you, Jose, for organizing this tribute. For many years, earlier years, several years ago, the college calendar was much longer. So Malcolm X's birthday fell within the calendar when the building is full and the students are here and the energy was robust. And we'd celebrate Malcolm's birthday and do so with what we thought we needed to continue the celebration. And you know I'm talking about numbers. So as the years went on and certain bargaining agreements shortened the work year, we'd attempt a birthday celebration, again, trying to expose, expand, and inform, and we would have maybe as many people as we see here today. And quite frankly, we became a little discouraged because people didn't seem to want to come back to the institution after having left with such flourish and fanfare and pomp and circumstance. And I'm speaking of graduation. So when Brother Jose called, and VP Brooks will tell you, I've been saying, we've got to do something, got to do something, got to do something. And not be discouraged. by the numbers we have or have not. And we all need that lesson. We all need the opportunity to revisit and understand the reason we celebrate Malcolm X's birthday is not so that we can make each other feel good, but so that we can remember, so that we can be re-energized, so that we remember this institution has a mission, and it has an obligation and a responsibility to keep the name and the man and the vision alive. Thank you. So we try every single day, and I hope you will agree, because you support everything that happens at this institution. I see some familiar faces even here today, and in the few. There is strength in the few. So we thank you for that. And I thank you, Jose, for reminding us. Where are you? Thank you for reminding us the purpose of this day, the purpose of the occasion, the purpose of the celebration. And you have my word. From this point forward, if it's just me and you, we will be here on May 19th to celebrate and commemorate the birthday of the man for whom this institution is named and for whom we strive every single day to empower students through education. I can quote I can be a little pithy here and make a quote, but you need to understand, we truly live the mission in this institution. We understand, and I hope we're seeing it today, as we hear reports from various educational agencies and research institutions who tell us how many of our young people who graduate from a public school are going to graduate from a university. We understand that education is indeed the passport. If it's no more than a calling card. And for as long as we are here, and as long as you are there to embrace us, the mission and this institution, we will continue to keep that mission and that vision in front of us. I thank you for being with us tonight. Thank you. Thank you. Now, Vice President Brooks tells me that we have a very special presentation. If you will allow us a commercial break on the program. We have among us some of those very students, some of those very people for whom this institution is thriving. And that's members of our Phi Theta Kappa Honors Fraternity. These are the officers, the executive committee of our Honors Fraternity, who, as I understand it, want to say thank you in a very public way for the support they've received from the institution this last academic year. So I bring forward the officers of Phi Theta Kappa, the president, Brandon Legrone, and the vice president, Donna Murray. Will you receive them, please? Thank you. Shall I stay?
Hi, my name is Donna Murray, and I am the Vice President of Phi Theta Kappa, actually the old Vice President. We wanted to do a presentation because there are so many times that we look at the name of the institution and we understand what the motivation is for many of us. We understand where this institution is and the words that propel us to succeed every day. Very often, people don't make the connection. We understand the tradition in our community of birthdays. They're not just to receive, but to give. In honor of Malcolm X today, we would like to give gifts to the people that make his dream alive and living every day. The first person is a person that I had very few opportunities to interact with. This person is the person that's responsible for our academic programs, the specific program of education. When we look around here, a lot of people talk about the institutions and everybody have this jacket, this thing, and this little emblem that represents themselves. we then wanted to be as excited about MXC. When we think about that name, we think about the end of Spike Lee's movie when all of the little boys and girls from all over united us and made us aware when they said, "I am Malcolm X." Well, we want everybody to know that we are proud to say, "I am a student, a graduate, the future of Malcolm X College." For that, we are very thankful for the people that make that happen on a daily basis. The first person we want to honor is VP Regner. When we think about VP Regner, you don't really want to interact with her because something actually went wrong. She interacts with all of our academics, all of the people that are developing instruction. She is the person that makes us proud to go to another institution and say, "Yes, I have met the criteria and here is my degree, here is my certificate." This year, not only was she honored and being honored by us, she was also honored by the American Association of Community College Women. That is something that is important. When you go to Harvard, when you go to Princeton, you generally are going there because of the reputation of the people on that campus. We too have people like that on our campus. So would you please thank her for being an outstanding woman, for representing us and making us look good. Thank you very much. Thank you. Congratulations.
All right, the next person that we would like to thank is Lois Britton. Throughout the academic school year, Lois Britton has been an advisor to one of our other clubs on campus, as well as advisor to PTK when we'll come to her for some type of advice or some type of events dealing with the children that she has inside of her program here, the TRIO program. Specifically, I believe it's Talent Search. First of all, education is freedom, as well as knowledge is power. And you don't have to be, I have to read the quote because I can remember all of them. You don't have to be a man to fight for freedom. All you have to do is to be an intelligent human being. And that is exactly what Lois Britton is. We are greatly appreciative of what she's done for us this past academic school year, as well as what she can do for the next. Thank you very much.
Lois also was responsible for breast cancer research here. That our whole mission through our honor society was cancer and breast cancer. So she was really instrumental in making sure we did what we needed to do. And she has very personal connections to that. So thank you, Lois. The next person we want to honor is basically a person who makes the quote a cliche, it's any means necessary. Any means necessary is how we get it done on Malcolm X campus. We go to people all times of the night. We have phone numbers, we have email addresses, and several times I have been given a different phone number by Dean Diaz. I think it was because he believed I may have used it a little too much, but we never had to ask him twice. We may have had to remind him, but we never had to ask. And that was so important. When you have, just like there are a few people here, you all know in any organization, there are a few people that make things happen. For Phi Theta Kappa, Dean Diaz was one of those people for us. Thank you.
The next person on our list is Vice President Brooks. In all of our deeds, the proper value and respect for time determines success or failure. Vice President Brooks is always there, whether it's the last minute or either ahead of time, with documents, with support, as well as always looking over and always trying to find out if everything is already taken care of. And to be honest, I don't know if there's virtually anything that Phi Theta Kappa could have done on this campus, or many students for that fact, without Vice President Brooks and the people and his staff. We would like to thank him as well.
actually require both of our help to talk about this lady. I met her my third day in school. I am one of those people that write letters, notes, emails, and I need to know why. And after the third meeting, she shut me up, which is no small feat. And she asked me, then Donna, what will you do to change things? And I paused for a moment, and I was looking at the president of my campus asking me what was I going to do. But gladly, I got and understood the message. There's no one on this campus that is not powerful enough to make a change. She has let each person know that, whether as a mother, as a girlfriend, as that auntie, as that school teacher with the ruler hitting your knuckles, some kind of way her message got across. I went to her again, maybe not learning what she had taught me the first time, and said to her I didn't like how I was being addressed as a student. I am no longer anything, I am new. She said, Donna, well, I don't think that's the way it was meant, but if that's important to you, you change it. I said, where do I start? She said, you start speaking your own truth. That is what the Malcolm X difference is. That is the woman we call Zeri Campbell, president, that is.
There's also, for the people on this campus that actually know me, know that sometimes I can be an extremely ambitious person. Sometimes piling up my plate to like the maximum where many other people would learn to, cut it back sometimes. And President Zeri Campbell was one of the people who pulled me inside of the office and questioned me to make sure that I'm actually stretching myself not too far, but to the best of my ability, rather than trying to be involved with everything. She would also pull me aside to give advice, as well as not just teach me, but also nurture me to become a better person, as well as a better leader, and not only a student. As Malcolm X would say about women, if you are in a country that is progressive, the woman is progressive. If you're in a country that reflects the consciousness toward the importance of education, that is because women is aware of the importance of education themselves. And I don't think any other person can ever reflect that more so than President Zeri Campbell. Nana Kwesapong, this is for you.
That is actually going to conclude our presentation. What we want to leave you all with is that the gift that keeps on giving is the heritage, is the spirit, is the knowledge. And as we were presenting here today and we wanted to make the connection, every day that you give in someone else's honor, give on someone else's behalf. Because you never know who's watching, you never know who's looking, and you never know whose lives you're changing. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm glad everyone came out to join us for the celebration of Malcolm X's birthday. This celebration for Malcolm X would not be complete without celebrating and paying tribute to Malcolm through dance. It is a part of our heritage and a part of our culture to dance. So we are delighted to have with us this evening the Minnetonka African Dance and Drum Ensemble Group. They are a community of artists immersed in traditional West African music and song, dance, and folklore. Rooted deep in the cultural essence of the old Mali Empire, Minnetonka also focuses on the expression of this heritage in African American and Caribbean culture. So without further ado, I'd like for us to give a warm and spirited welcome for the Minnetonka African Dance and Drum Ensemble.
you would.
The moon moves slowly, but it crosses the town.
Quarrels may end, but words once spoken never die.
You give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. You give a man, you teach a man how to fish, he eat for a lifetime.
All right, Jeremiah.
You don't mix your water until your well runs dry.
Mm.
Yeah.
Man to man is so unjust. I started singing it for y'all. You don't even know who to trust. Your worst enemy could be your best friend. And only he, your best friend, could reveal all your secrets. So who the cat fit and where it is.
Stupid friends are worse than enemies.
The dollar bill will never drop as low in value as some people will stoop for it.
It is better to keep your mouth closed than to have someone consider you a fool than to open it and remove all doubts.
y'all think of Minneapolis? All right, now, I saw some of y'all sitting down acting like y'all didn't want to clap or move or something like that. Remember, this is a celebration. We're here celebrating. So it's okay to get up and move, okay? All right. And that's why, may I ask permission for my elders to speak? Or continue, since I'm already speaking? Sante, Baba. Sante. We got to remember our culture. We got to remember our tradition. And these young brothers and sisters up here are showing us that they're remembering our tradition and our culture, okay? And that's one of the lessons that Malcolm taught us, is that history is one of those, is the thing that will reward all of our studies. It is the most rewarding thing of all of our studies. And understanding our history and being able to apply it to our situation today, our culture. Being able to live it and have it be part of us. And that's why, as Nana Kua spoke to and my brother Lumumba spoke to, is that why we're here today, to continue that spirit. Because regardless of how many of y'all didn't come tonight, we still would be doing this. And we're going to still do this every year. That's our commitment from our families. And we encourage y'all, even if you can't come here, to do a celebration, to remember our heroes and our sheroes. So not just Malcolm, of course, but we also want to remember Marcus Messiah Garvey. We also want to remember Mama Moses, Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, Fannie Lou Hamer. We have to remember, because as long as we keep their memories alive, they'll never die. They'll never die. Their spirits will always be with us here. And we always, as we invoke their spirits and invoke their names, and we're not talking about anything spooky, okay? We're talking about that energy. I don't know about y'all, but I'm hyped up. Are y'all hyped up? Okay? And that's what we talk about. And then being able to use that energy, that spirit, that hyped upness, if you will. I just made a word. That hyped upness, and then go out and do something in our community, okay? Work with our shorties, work with our young folks. Deal with some of the issues that Nana Akua spoke to, that we're being told that we're uneducatable. But we know the truth, that as long as we as a family, extended family, continue to raise and speak the names of our ancestors and learn the lessons that they taught us, that will continue to continue on in their footsteps and make their legacies true and living, okay? A lot of us, unfortunately, I'm not talking about anybody here, but after the movie X went away, we stopped seeing Malcolm, we stopped seeing the X, okay? It's no longer popular to wear X on your hat anymore, okay? And so when we talk to some of the young folks that we work with, and they're like, Malcolm X, oh yeah, I saw the movie. I'm like, oh my God, okay, we gotta, well, okay. And we gotta go back to, and my brother's gonna talk about this, one of the main lessons that Malcolm taught us is his transformation, and I'm not gonna steal his brother's thunder, okay? So I'm gonna transition now to introduce my brother Jabali Kamal Ravier. Now he is our keynote speaker. This brother, I've known this brother now for about 15, 16 years. We went to college together. And every time I talk with him, he fascinates me. I mean, and I'm supposed to be his quote-unquote elder, right? But I mean, he's teaching me stuff all the time, and I'm open to learning from this brother. And he has a lot to share. He looks at things, and y'all, I don't think y'all ready for what y'all gonna hear and see tonight. I'm being honest with you. Because y'all about to hear and see something, and hear and see about Malcolm that you've never looked or heard before. And hopefully y'all come out of here with a new understanding about who Malcolm is, not was, but is. And how we can continue on his legacy. This brother is currently a Chicago public school teacher, and he is wrecking shop at the school that he's at over on the west side. And they don't even know what to do with him. He just got awarded an award. It was a foundation grant for teachers. And they're not even sure how to deal with this brother, because he's bringing Malcolm into the classroom. And his students are dealing with Malcolm, dealing with Martin Luther King, dealing with issues that we say that we can't teach our kids, and then applying it to their lives. So without rambling on further about this brother, I'd like to introduce and present to you my brother, our brother, Jabali Kamal Ravier. Please give him a hand.
Permission to speak. Permission to raise this thing somehow. Oh, here we go. Hey, how y'all doing? I'm not quite sure how much I'm going to give you in the 30-minute time limit that I have. I'm used to speaking on Malcolm. When I speak on Malcolm, I'm used to going at least an hour and a half, so I found myself kind of speechless, not knowing what to say because I have so much. But I'm going to set up my computer really quick, and I'm going to try and let Malcolm speak for himself for a little bit, for a part of this presentation. One moment, please. Can we get the screen down, please? Thanks, that would be helpful. Okay, there's a lot I would say beforehand to kind of, I guess, qualify why you should even listen to me speak about Malcolm, but we don't have time for that. I'll just say Malcolm has been very important in my life. I began studying Malcolm in 1990. I had just gotten out of the Navy. I went into the Navy because I didn't think I was college material, and my girlfriend at the time, who's my wife now, my girlfriend at the time told me that she wasn't marrying nobody that wasn't going to college. So she forced me to apply, and she gave me something. She had been taking an Afro-American studies class, and the teacher there assigned them this book to read. And she gave me this book, and it changed my life. And that book was the autobiography of Malcolm X. And I've been studying Malcolm from that day to this. And the Malcolm that I knew then is very different than the Malcolm that I know now. Malcolm was a very complex man. We think we know who he is. Once you think you've got Malcolm, that's the day you realize that you don't know Malcolm. Many people study him to the point where their understanding of him coincides with what they want to believe. And we have to push further than that, because Malcolm he pushed himself further than that. His life was always about change. So we have to be willing to challenge our own beliefs, not only our own beliefs, but our own beliefs about what Malcolm was. And in my efforts to do that, I've often looked at Malcolm in contrast in relationship to Martin Luther King, which is how we're going to do it today. Some people might ask why I spend a lot of time on Martin Luther King on Malcolm X's birthday. And I truly believe that, well, I'm doing it because I truly believe that it is the way Malcolm would have wanted it. I don't believe that Malcolm, 2.5 weeks before he died, traveled to Selma, Alabama to see Martin Luther King for nothing. I don't believe that he made all those attempts to contact. That picture of Malcolm Martin that we all see, Malcolm cornered Martin. You know, if you know the story behind that picture, he sought Martin out, and he cornered Martin at the Capitol building, and that's where that picture was taken. He was trying to build a coalition. He was trying to have a meeting of the minds, and that coalition was well on its way to being formed when Malcolm was taken from us. And what I like to do now is just basically listen to both men speak, because only in a country like America, where the leadership has a preoccupation with creating division amongst black people, could you look at a Malcolm and a Martin and the first thing that comes to your mind is a difference, because they were so much alike. And we have to understand that. So this is going to be my attempt to illustrate it. I don't have a time to illustrate it all, so I'll give you some links to some clips that I've created on the web so you can finish this process on your own. But we're going to take a look at 2 issues that Martin and Malcolm both spoke on. And we're going to listen to them speaking on them themselves. And the lesson should be obvious from listening to them. I brought my own audio system because I couldn't figure out how to hook it into this system. So the first issue that we're going to look at is the issue of black pride. And I'll let Malcolm begin to speak on this issue in a second. And I'm sure we're all familiar with it. You know, the basic concept that Malcolm understood and was able to articulate is that we as black people have been robbed of our heritage, robbed of the knowledge of ourselves, and don't even know it. So he spent a lot of his time trying to make black people aware, one, that we've been robbed of this, but two, what we've been robbed of, what this glorious history of ours was. So these are two pieces of Malcolm sort of breaking down how we were robbed of our heritage.
So now, what effect does this have on us? Why should the black man in America concern himself, since we've been away from the African continent for 400 years, 400 years? Why should we concern ourselves? What impact does what happened to them have upon us? First, we have to realize that up until 1959, Africa was dominated by the colonial powers, and by the colonial powers of Europe having complete control over Africa. They projected Africa always in a negative light. Jungles, savages, cannibals, nothing civilized. And naturally, it was so negative until it was negative to you and me. And you and I began to hate it. We didn't want anybody to tell us anything about Africa, much less call us an African. And in hating Africa and hating the African, we ended up even hating ourselves without even realizing it. Because you can't hate the roots of a tree and not hate the tree. You can't hate your origin and not end up hating yourself. You can't hate Africa and not hate yourself. So they very skillfully made you and me hate our African identity, our African characteristics. And you know yourself that we have been the people who hated our African characteristics. We hated our hair. We hated the shape of our nose. We wanted one of those long, dog-like noses, you know. Yeah. We hated the color of our skin, hated the blood of Africa that was in our veins, and in hating our features and our skin and our blood, why we had to end up hating ourselves. It made us feel inferior. It made us feel inadequate. It made us feel helpless. And when we fell victim to this feeling of inadequacy or inferiority or helplessness, we turned to somebody else to show us the way. We didn't have confidence in another black man to show us the way, or black people to show us the way. In those days, we didn't. We didn't think a black man could do anything but play some horn, you know, some sound. But in serious things, where our food, clothing, and shelter was concerned, and our education was concerned, we turned to the man. We never thought in terms of bringing these things into existence for ourselves. We never thought in terms of doing things for ourselves, because we felt helpless. And what made us feel helpless was our hatred for ourselves. And our hatred for ourselves stemmed from our hatred of things African.
Now, this is very close. I'm going to play another clip of Malcolm. And right afterward, I'll play a clip of Martin. You may be surprised at how similar they sound. But first, one more clip of Malcolm. This is a short one.
Who taught you to hate the color of your skin? Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? So much so that you don't want to be around each other. No, before you come asking Mr. Muhammad, does he teach hate? You should ask yourself, who taught you to hate being what God made you?
Now, that's him analyzing how we got in the situation. This is an example of how he addressed it. It's from the autobiography of Malcolm X, page 410. It's at a point where Alex Haley is giving the epilogue. And he's talking about how one of Malcolm's favorite things to do was to walk through the streets of Harlem, side streets, not the main thoroughfares, but the the side streets and talk to the people. And he would go, and Alex said that he was helping him write this autobiography. He would go on these trips with Malcolm. And he describes one of the trips here. He says, I remember another stoop full of women alongside the door of a small grocery store when I had gone for something, leaving Malcolm X talking across the street. As I came across out of the store, one woman was excitedly describing for the rest a Malcolm X lecture that she had heard in Mosque number 7 one Sunday. Oh, he burnt the white man up. Burn him up, child, burn him up. He told us we was descended from black kings and queens. Lord, I didn't know it. Another woman asked, you believe that? And the first woman vehemently responded, yes, I do. So this is a woman, this is the effect of a Malcolm X lecture on this woman. This is Malcolm X trying to replace what had been stolen, giving her an awareness of a rich and glorious past that she was not aware of. Now, here's Martin Luther King attempting to do the same thing.
This is where we are. Where do we go from here? First, we must massively assert our dignity and worth. We must stand up amid a system that still oppresses us and develop an unassailable and majestic sense of values. We must no longer be ashamed of being black. The job of arousing manhood within a people that have been taught for so many centuries that they are nobody is not easy. Even semantics have conspired to make that which is black seem ugly and degrading. In Roget's thesaurus, there are some 120 synonyms for blackness, and at least 60 of them are offensive. Such words as blot, sut, grim, devil, and foul. There are some 134 synonyms for whiteness, and all are favorable, expressed in such words as purity, cleanliness, chastity, and innocence. A white lie is better than a black lie. The most degenerate member of a family is the black sheep. Arthur Davis has suggested that maybe the English language should be reconstructed so that teachers will not be forced to teach the Negro child 60 ways to despise himself and thereby perpetuate his false sense of inferiority, and the white child 134 ways to adore himself and thereby perpetuate his false sense of superiority. Tendency to ignore the Negro's contribution to American life and strip him of his personhood is as old as the earliest history books and as contemporary as the morning's newspaper. To offset this cultural homicide, the Negro must rise up with an affirmation of his own Olympian manhood. Any movement for the Negro's freedom that overlooks this necessity is only waiting to be buried. As long as the mind is enslaved, the body can never be free. Psychological freedom, a firm sense of self-esteem, is the most powerful weapon against the long night of physical slavery. No Lincolnian Emancipation Proclamation, no Johnsonian Civil Rights Bill can totally bring this kind of freedom. The Negro will only be free when he reaches down to the inner depths of his own being and signs with the pen and ink of assertive manhood his own Emancipation Proclamation. With a spirit straining toward true self-esteem, the Negro must boldly throw off the manacles of self-abnegation and say to himself and to the world, I am somebody. I am a person. I am a man with dignity and and honor. I have a rich and noble history, however painful and exploited that history has been. Yes, I was a slave through my foreparents, and I'm not ashamed of that. I'm ashamed of the people who were so sinful to make me a slave. Yeah.
You don't hear that on January 15th. Malcolm would appreciate it if that was said on January 15th, I believe. Well, say, how much time I got, brother? Where you at?
5 minutes, brother.
5, perfect.
Yes, sir.
Now,
There's another mic down there too, brother.
y'all hear me? My students say I'm pretty loud. I usually don't need the mic. I kind of like yelling anyway. Malcolm had, as I was saying, an extremely insightful analysis of our situation. Martin Luther King, towards his later years, also began to have an extremely insightful analysis of our situation. Malcolm's analysis went beyond the symptoms of oppression and went to the heart of what oppression is. To understand oppression, you have to understand what freedom is. You have to have some kind of definition for it. And we all have our own. I have sort of a working one in my mind. It is the ability to develop oneself to the point where you can reach your own potential and accomplish something meaningful with your life. That's freedom to me. You can reach your own potential, the human potential that was given to you by the Creator, and accomplish something with your life. To me, that's freedom. So how does freedom get taken away? Well, there's been a phenomenon in world history where people have goals and they decide they want a little bit more than their share of what the world has to offer. And in order to achieve that goal, that selfish goal, they have to debase people from reaching their own potential and accomplishing something meaningful with their life and channel their energies, the energies of other people, towards accomplishing the goals that they set for them. That is when freedom is lost. That is the essence of slavery. People channeling other people's energy into accomplishing their goal of building wealth and debasing them from their own goal of reaching their own potential in life and accomplishing something meaningful. That's slavery. That's immigrant labor practices, unfair immigrant labor practices. That's corporate capitalism. That's the job at IBM, if you look at it in a certain way. How do you do this, though? How do you debase someone from reaching their own potential and accomplishing something meaningful with their life? Well, one way is through force. Another way is through or by erasing the concept in their minds that they even have a potential. Erasing within their minds that they have a meaningful purpose, that there is a meaningful purpose toward which they could even direct their life beyond accomplishing something for you. Malcolm understood that that was what was done to us. And he was trying to put it back, to help us understand that we come from a people, as Dr. King said and as Malcolm understood, had a rich and noble history. That we were people with dignity and honor, who had a purpose beyond the purpose that we were brought to this and enslaved in this country to accomplish. Malcolm understood that. He had a very deep analysis of this, and he went about a program to undo that. Does this make sense? Oh, yeah. And so when we read the piece with that lady saying, "Oh, he burnt the white man up, child, he burnt him up." Told us we was rich, we came from kings, we got a rich and noble history. This is a woman who had been debased from a concept of her having some kind of potential, some kind of purpose, some kind of work, some kind of worthiness. And Malcolm was restoring that for her. Is this making sense? I wish I could go on, but I think my 5 minutes might be up.
Just wrap it up.
Malcolm is very important. And he's important because of those ideas. Freedom is very important to me. And anybody whose ideas can get us closer to freedom should be important. And freedom is important to you. And Malcolm was one of those people. Dr. King was one too. I'm not about having camps anymore. And one time in my life I was. I'm not anymore. Malcolm, Dr. King, Nat Turner, Fannie Lou Hamer, Ella Baker. We need to study them all. And one of the people who I believe you can get the best returns from your time spent studying is Malcolm X. Now, I'm about to show something, and I really don't know how to describe it. It came about as sort of a immersion of the people who have been important to me in different phases of my life. When I was young, I was a Prince fan. Still a Prince fan, I gotta admit. And my favorite Prince song was Adore. Still is Adore. Sort of me and my wife's song too, you know. And once I became conscious, I started listening to love songs in an entirely different way. Like if I hear Marvin Gaye's Let's Get It On, sometimes I would actually hear him saying something he wasn't saying. Or he didn't mean to say. I mean, sometimes I hear what he was saying, don't get me wrong. I heard what he meant. But in certain moments, I heard something else when he said, I've been really trying to hold back this feeling for so long. I heard black people who had been oppressed for so long trying to hold it back, but not being able to hold it back anymore. If you feel like I feel, come on, let's get it on. I heard black people saying, we're tired of this. Let's go get it on with the people who've been holding us down. Sometimes when I hear a love song, the meaning seems to change in my mind in certain moments. And I had a moment like that with Princess Adore. And it had been circling around in my mind for years, and I decided about a month or so ago to try and create something with this thing that was happening in my mind. And what you're about to see is the result. There's some text to read in the beginning, then the text ends and the music begins. You can hit the lights down again, please.
Please take the lights down.
Truly adore you. I want to demonstrate
He keeps us divided in order to conquer us. He tells you I'm for separation and you for integration and keep us fighting with each other. No, I'm not for separation and you're not for integration. What you and I are for is freedom.
I have to end here. If anybody's interested in getting the video, I hope that for those who liked it, I hope you did like it. If you'd like to use it to try and inspire yourself, inspire others to learn a little bit more about Malcolm. I'm not a webmaster, so I tried to figure out how I can put it on the web and make it available to everyone and make the other speeches available to everyone. Let me also give you a look at the other speeches too. I closed that document out a little too soon. Malcolm X and Martin Luther King had quotes on brotherhood too. Like just show those right quick. Just let you read it. wish I had time to talk about why I put this up here, but I don't. So I thought I'd at least put it up there. Maybe just meditate on it yourself. But in addition to Black Pride, Black Power, and Brotherhood, they both spoke on the need for a systematic revolution in the United States. Malcolm X was, of course, open to broader means whereby to carry out that revolution. But they were both insistent upon the idea that it was going to take more than integration to turn this country around, to make it something. Malcolm spoke very clearly about you can't integrate into a system, into an oppressive system and want to be part of it unless you can make it in a system that doesn't oppress. You can't just want to integrate into a system that's oppressive as it is and get some reward and get the rewards that this oppressive system creates, which is sort of what the strategy, part of the strategy of the civil rights movement ended up being, maybe not intentionally, but that's kind of what it ended up being. Martin Luther King, in his Beyond Vietnam speech, said almost the identical thing, that you can't just, his phrase was, you can't just flip a coin to a beggar and think you're doing something. You gotta begin to question the system that creates beggars and restructure that system. He used the word restructure. And he called it a revolution of values. They both spoke on the press and how the press influences our perception of reality. And they both have statements that they've made that are on this website, I'm not sure. And they both spoke on United States foreign policy. Malcolm spoke particularly on the Congo in a speech called The Last Message, and he spoke a little bit about South Vietnam in that speech. Martin Luther King spoke very eloquently about Vietnam in a speech called Beyond Vietnam, delivered at Riverside Church, 1 year exactly to the date before he was assassinated. There's another version of that speech that he did at Ebenezer Baptist Church, which has a little more flair because he's delivering it to a black audience. Either speech I'd recommend. I have bits and pieces of both on this site. I don't know much about web stuff. A friend of mine told me there's this site that everybody's using now to create their own little pages. MySpace, apparently I was kind of a late comer to this thing, but I put a page together to make this stuff available to people who wanted to download. And so this is the address, so you can get the other audio files from this address. It's basically myspace.com/Mal7. And I hope that this was worthwhile, that you learned something, and that you spread it if you did. Thanks for listening. Thank you.
Can we just please thank Brother Kamal Jabali One of Malcolm's greatest lessons is for us to learn how to challenge ourselves, to reinvent ourselves, he created an institution for himself with those jail walls, and he became a new man. And we have this beautiful institution, Malcolm X College, where we can create and we can challenge ourselves to become better human beings, better people for what we're supposed to do on this earth. And that's why we're here. We're not here to drive fancy cars and to live in big fat houses. We're here to make a difference in the lives of our community. And so Sante Jabali for reminding us of Malcolm's gift to us and how we can transform ourselves into greater human beings. The next group that's going to come up to wrap up our celebration of his life is Poetry Chicago. Now, there was a group in the late 60s, early 70s called Last Poets. And it's interesting that they were called the Last Poets because there's another group called Poetry Chicago who makes that name say, there weren't the last poets, because there's a dynamic group of young brothers and sisters who I'm always inspired by, and they're going to share their words of wisdom with us. And yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that. So let's bring them down. Poetry Chicago.
Peace, everybody. How y'all doing? Clearly, I'm one of a group, but the show will go on, obviously. I just want to thank y'all, one, for just having me out here representing for this beautiful day and this beautiful individual who means so much to me, especially in terms of many of the things Brother talked about, from Black pride to self-empowerment to having control over what we say and what we put out in our community. And as a member of the hip-hop community, I feel like it's more than necessary, because we don't have too many leaders out there. I mean, y'all know we don't have too many leaders out there standing up, speaking up, and being heard. The rappers are being heard more than our activists are. It's more cats to know about Jeezy than Mamiya. So, I mean, we have, or I feel like I have a responsibility as a hip-hop artist to bring these things to light and share with our people and, you know, expand the mind instead of dropping it like it's hot. So, I'm gonna share a couple pieces with y'all. This first piece deals with redefining terms about, you know, a lot of us, they say we should be pimps now or gangsters, I don't know. But I feel like if you're gonna be gangster or if you're gonna pimp something, define who the gangsters are. And to me, this piece will define those gangsters. I am the natural born liberator. I don't trust the cops and these white collar wanksters. Yo, Wall Street, I'm coming for your paper. I might be your spook by the door, your janitor, or waiter. Revenge of the slave, I'm the White House hater. This is for the people that financed Al-Qaeda. They can admit it now, or they'll admit it later. This is for the mean machine, I really mean these dictators. They can't harm me, your army couldn't save you. I fight like Bob Marley, but my love is much greater. I'm poetry's Basquiat, but I got my creator. Penning a sword, I'm a silent type gangster. Student of the words, I be battling the tanker. So gangster, I pimp the information. Open your eyes to these secret organizations. Scanning your eyes, live on every station. They pacify the people with miseducation. Words to Lauryn Hill, I connect the separation. I protect the ill in my shy demonstration. African state of mind, we here to save the nation. Controlled by the Masons, New World plan to microchip the population. Round table network, soldiers of Satan, now that's gangster. Now that's gangster, and these wanksters getting played by some boarding school pranksters who like to see slaves running in a maze to the end of days. This is for the people, then devils better pray. Word to Fidel, I'm the resurrection of Che, compose a revolution to save us today, cause I'm sick of rap lusting, American dream trusting. I rock steady like Boogie Down Productions. This is entertainment that's not up for discussion, this blackface media. Well, I'm the commercial interruption. Reality rap versus corporate corruption. Consume with consumption. You challenge the system. They make the assumption that you a terrorist because you're not off lunching, killing yourself, chilling, or humping. Well, I'm educating the people. I'm teaching them something. And everywhere is war. Peace, y'all. So, I guess now we're going to talk about, I think it's time to talk about the different wars that we go through. Who's on the track? I know that's ghetto. Can I hit that track? No. No. Next track, please. The one after that. Or maybe it's just one. Is there another track on it? There we go. So, talking about war. And to defeat any war, to me, you have to have an educated populace. Because an educated populace will always be the best defense against tyranny. So you have to know yourself. You have to know yourself and know your enemy. Because everywhere there's a war. War on your mind, war on your heart, war on your soul. Everywhere is war. 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 Everywhere is war. We live at the shrine. Femi Fela Kuti, Garvey state of mind. Media is the minstrel. Show you the time. Program your mental. Music instrumental to killing our potential while they outfoxing, chasing Bin Laden, making up votes, creating bombs dropping. Where are our hopes? Killing our options. The timeline is talking. Whips, cameras, cable, internet, blue chip, iPod, OnStar. Stop that bullshit. They take me right now while I'm rapping, tapping my system, but I'm still Fred Hampton. Look. And I see them, I know how they kick it. The media's so wicked, but I'm the natural mystic. Yo, BET, you should come with chicken and a biscuit. I know how y'all flip it, open your eyes. They cover up genocide, then they advertise. Before you realize, you wanna be an idol, or pimp your ride. Well, I fight for my survival, where you buy them fries, or buy into them lies. They on Sister Lauren, but they buy them freaking Jordans that don't make them rise. That ain't no surprise. Media, we see you every single day. There's poetry, turn the TV off and go read a book. Try Malcolm and Che. It's poetry, Chicago, revolution every day. And it's war, everywhere is war. Everywhere is war, grouped by the door. Everywhere is war, 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 war. Everywhere is a war. And if you spread love, you spread peace, you can stop all wars. Free your mind. Peace, y'all. Alright. Can we turn that mic down just 1,000? I'm gonna leave y'all with one more piece. One of the stories of Malcolm, I think that really inspires me as a man in terms of relations. Like the relationship with Betty X, I mean, it's just like to have that type of bond with somebody. I mean, all of us as leaders, men in our community, you need a strong black woman near you to hold you down, to be able to cry those tears too when nobody else is around, because you know that brother was going through struggles. And to have somebody that knows what's on your heart while you're trying to share it to the world, it's not only important, it's necessary. And I mean, that love just inspires me, you know. So I'm gonna share a little piece called How to Love a Revolutionary Woman. Because I don't think, I mean, if we let, stations such as BET and I will diss them. If we let television and media define how we love each other, we'll end up dead. Because they just want us to shoot. It seems like they just want us to shoot and kill each other and disrespect completely. I just don't understand it. And especially like working with, I see so many youth in here, and just like I came from work and my students, same thing. Like the only thing they want to love and emulate is what's given to them. And what's given to them, we all know is some BS. So it's up to us to love our children, to teach them, to be examples of that love. Like I can't go out here and preach love and then be a pimp. Right, brothers? And sisters, we have to hold up the standard. Like, you have to raise the standard. Sisters? So, with that, how to love a revolutionary woman. Let me take your hand. If I could only take the traits of your ex-lovers, the ones who, not the ones who have brothers, but the ones who had sisters and praised their mothers. I want to take their tender tenacity and break your mental chastity with the hardest thought in the galaxy. Am I ready to die? Think about that. Am I ready to die? Am I ready to die for my people? Do I want to follow or do I want to lead my people? Do I want to plant seeds in revolutionaries? Do I want to breed revolutionaries who murder all talk, only read revolutionaries? Those Harvard revolutionaries who pass themselves as massive vocabulary but can't read the dictionary of making things happen. I give these false prophets a picture of revolution. They only read the caption. All talk, no action. And before I finish asking, I check for your reaction. I see that you are ready. Like a panther in heat. Like Harriet Tubman told her people to be. Now I have to go and ask if you are ready. I have to ask is what's below your navel a fable? Malcolm said no. It's the reincarnation of why Cain killed Abel. So we sat around the round table smoking squares and began to talk about record labels who are trying to disable our unborn seeds before they reach the cradle with grave attempts to make me see with more split personality than a Gemini acting like Sable. But I am able to see beyond this fallacy, the stars, the black hole, and the galaxy. You are actually mentally, mathematically sweeter than the reality that may play tricks if one can't dream. Fade and mix your name in the same flame that Moses saw in the bush high on cocaine, that Jesus speaks every time we call his father in vain, in the same voice that inspired Nas to write Illmatic on the train. And I listened, trying to maintain how you were comparable to the parable that made Ivan the Terrible seem tame as the sparrow that my poems sing about every time we listen to a stereo. This is where I become a pharaoh, launching more lyrics in the vernacular that make your mind, body, and soul capture the Holy Spirit. Capture the tear that drift in traffic. You make me high, but not so tragic that I can't write how dynamic you are for having a great grandmother who crossed the Atlantic. Went through hell for masters with more cold white skin than passengers on the Titanic. Went through slavery, Reconstruction, destruction, semantics. Let me speak in terms of romantics. Let me conquer your body like Hannibal, wish granted. Let me roam your locks, understandable to the reason we roll up the preamble and sample premiere on mushrooms and appear to ramble the constitution of your curves. The revolution between my words that has me calling you Eve without the apple. I would go to Africa and paint your image in 16 chapels. Watch Michelangelo completely baffled, D'Angelo and Brown Sugar got me asking you, how does it feel when I travel this globe? Come back and whisper in your earlobe how these Greek philosophers stole and these Asian mathematicians couldn't honor how I compose you in a Chicago state of flows that were right below the nose of students who said heaven stops between your legs and never grows. But I suppose my thought pattern is from Saturn. I speak in hydrophonics, chronic ebonics. I am able to find your pleasure principle without the use of electronics. No emails, no cell phones, no two ways about it. Just facts about how you take me back to a black church to reminisce on your grandmother's moans and the same voodoo you cast on me in Baton Rouge. Your art is war, but your beauty, your power has me calling a truce. I surrender. Peace out. On behalf of my poetry family, Underground Railroad, who couldn't be here, I just want to say thank you for having us out, having me out. Thank you for your time, your ears. Malcolm, you here, you'll always be with us. Your legacy is carried on, and we will not stop fighting for freedom. Peace, y'all.
All right, well, we had a wonderful tribute to Malcolm, I felt today. I know at the time we came here, we never did get a chance to introduce ourselves. My name is Lee Lumumba Fantroy. This is my wife. This is my wife, Lisa, my daughter, Lena, and my son, Langston. We want to, again, extend our thanks to Malcolm X College, Mama, Queen Mother, Nana Sakur, Sante, for allowing us to have this institution, to have this celebration. Again, we extend our thanks to our elder, Baba Combine, for doing a libation, and also Brother Kamal. I mean, he just did an outstanding job. On the analogy of Malcolm X and how he compared it to Martin Luther King. I mean, it was just phenomenal. I mean, words cannot even explain it. I think that piece in which he did should be, it should become a precedent for students in school and just studying. Before we close, it's my understanding that there's one brother, okay, it's my understanding that this brother, Jasi, wanted to come down and make an announcement. Okay, here's the brother.
Thank you, Africans. Again, I just want to extend my thanks to Malcolm X and the organizers for having this event. We can never forget our martyrs, we can never forget our heroes and sheroes. We must always promote them. Not only them, the people, but the spirit, the principles, and the embodiment that they stood for our people to pass on to the Watotos here and all of our young people coming up. So my name is Bandeli Jasi. I'm a member of the All African People's Revolutionary Party. Thank you. We just wanted to make a quick announcement for our 48th anniversary of African Liberation Day, which will be next Saturday, May 27th, at the Institute of Positive Education, which is the same building that houses the Betty Shabazz International School. And that's on 7825, South Ellis, which is between Cottage Grove and Stony Island.
This year's theme is the United States of Africa is a key to our economic independence. We're a Pan-Africanist organization. We're going to have an all-day program from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. We're going to have a dynamic symposium from 10 to 12, and including in that symposium will be the Zimbabwean ambassador to the U.S. and also the Consul General of Venezuela in Chicago, because these are two countries that are really standing up for the people, not just African people or Latino people, but human beings throughout the world, people suffering throughout the world. And we want to give the people an opportunity to hear their stories on what's really going on in Zimbabwe and Venezuela, and also give people an opportunity to ask questions to deal with some of the misnomers or whatever that you have on your mind in relation to these two areas of the world. We'll have brothers and sisters from South Africa, from West Africa on this symposium as well. And then from 12 to 2, we're going to have our unity march through the community, starting from the school, going over up 79th to King Drive, up to 75th, back to Cottage Grove, and back to the school. We want all of our people to come out and participate in this march. There's been a lot of marches going on lately, which we are happy about the violence in Inglewood. But this march is really a call to our community to stand up and to take our responsibility for our lives and our development, our children's development into our own hand. It's a call for self-reliance. It's a call for unity, not only within the African community here in Chicago, but the African community throughout the world, because unity is the only way we're going to move forward. And we encourage all of our youth especially to come out, whether it's banners, whether it's posters, placards, whatever. We're going to try to make it a live march, rain or shine, we're moving. And we're calling to organize our people. And we want to bring light to what the brother was mentioning earlier about this garbage hip hop. You know, the only people that's going to change it are the people, are the youth. Because the fact is that until Jay-Z goes to selling 5 records and Dead Prayers and The Coup and other people like Poetry, Chicago is the ones selling 5-6 million copies. They're going to keep on putting out this mess. So it's the people that have to change. It's the sisters that have to protest and say, we ain't going to no club that's playing this garbage music until y'all cut it down. And present alternatives. We have to create alternatives. It's not just protesting the ones that's doing this backward stuff. We have to create alternatives so it becomes irrelevant what they're doing. We have to present these alternatives to our people. And lastly, from 2 to 6, we're going to have our African Liberation Day rally. We're going to have food, vendors. We're going to have performances. One of the things we're hoping to hook up, I'm not sure if people are familiar with the documentary I was showing on PBS a few years ago called Panther in Africa. Brother and sister who moved to Tanzania a few years ago. They started this United African Alliance Community Center. We're trying to do a video feed with them. They're going to do a 2 or 3 day ALD next week. And the last day will be the 27th. So we're hoping that they could do a performance for us and then give us a message in real time live from Tanzania and East Africa as part of our ALD celebration. The program is free. We're going to have youth activities. If people are familiar with Institute Positive Education Basic Bass, there's 2 like the gymnasium and then the cafeteria. We're going to have activities for the youth on the other side and then also in the park, weather permitting. So we encourage everybody to come out. We ask people to wear white as a show of unity. That's a tradition started back when in Guinea, West Africa. And again, we encourage everyone to come out. We definitely want our youth to participate in our march and the whole program, but especially our march, because we really need to show other youth that's on these corners of 79th and Cottage Grove and King Drive that there is something else for them to do. There's a purpose for their lives, and their purpose is to be involved in the African Revolution and the development and liberation of their people. So we thank you again, Saturday, May 27th, 10 to 6, Institute of Positive Education, 78-28-5, South Ellis. Thank you again.
Before brother, if you please come indicate you want to give a 10-second.
I didn't wait for anything.
Abari Guy. My name is Julia Williams. I go to Barbados Sizemore Academy. I want to talk about Malcolm X, the way he been before when he came out of jail. He was first a criminal, a master criminal, sleeping with 2 white women. But back then, that was illegal for black people for doing that. And when he went to jail, he met up with this guy that taught him about African history and really the truth. And so he learned more about our African history, to study all the words inside the dictionary. And now that's how he became a famous leadership, just like Dr. King. Just like my brother over here is talking about that Dr. King and Malcolm X are the difference, and they both the same. Sure, Dr. King been in jail a couple of times, but that didn't stop him. He still kept on going, and destroyed his house. But that didn't stop him, period. Nothing will stop our African heroes, Malcolm X and Dr. King. I want to give him a black power for that.
All right, brother.
Once again, we'd like to say Asante. Thank you for everyone coming out and joining us for this celebration of Malcolm X's birthday. On behalf of the Unification of African American Families, the Chama Jama African Ma Americani, we hope that you will continue to support our programs in the upcoming future. We hope that you found tonight's program enjoyable, enlightening, and somewhat enriching to your lives. And once again, we'd like to give a special thanks to Malcolm X College for allowing us to host this event here. And we cannot go without saying thank you to the fabulous dance group, the Minneonka Dance Ensemble, and the youth, and how the youth is putting their good deeds to work and working for us to show what they can do now and in the future. As well as Poetry Chicago, we thank you for the enlightening poetry that you provided for us, and hope that you will continue to support our events as well.
With that, we want to close with 7 Harambe's. I'm sure we're all familiar with it. Not? Okay, please stand. Oh, okay. As indicated, so correct, as indicated, that there is, after this, a birthday cake in honor of Malcolm X outside. Actually, it's this area because I passed by, I saw it.
I saw it by his car.
And she saw it too by the car. And so please, afterwards, come outside or meet us outside, and we'll have cake and try to continue to celebrate and fellowship out there as well. All right? On the count of 3, or y'all like to, we'll do 7 Harambe's, okay? And then I'm sure you know at the last one, we hold it as long as we can, fall out, whatever the case, until we cannot hold it anymore, okay? 1, 2, 3.
Harambe!
Harambe! Harambe! Harambe! Harambe! Harambe! Harambe!
Friends, I see some enemies. In fact, I think we'd be fooling ourselves if we had an audience this large and didn't realize that there were some enemies present. This afternoon, we want to talk about the ballot or the bullet. The ballot or the bullet explains itself.